Hi everybody, I am Dr. Debbie Pates. Dr. Debbie Pates, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday, yoga, virtual yoga at GOCA. So as most of you know, this is a collaboration between the UCCS Wellness Center, where I work as a staff psychologist, and the Gallery of Contemporary Arts, which is open by appointment. On campus, and also we have this really neat new exhibit open. Artist, I forget his name, last name Merrill, I remember that because it rhymes with Harold, and it's a very cool exhibit that called the Wind Project, I think, or the Windmill Project. I had that last week, but anyway, it is just west of the Heller Center, north of campus, east of Nevada Avenue, and it's really cool. And it obviously is activated by the wind. And today is kind of a windy day outside, so if you have a chance, if you're on campus, maybe take a stroll over to check it out. I really recommend it. And with that said, let's get started doing some yoga. We're going to do a kind of slow and steady practice today, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. So we'll see how that plays out for you. I have handy a block and a strap, and if you have those and you want to use them, they'll probably be throughout practice, but let's come and start the way we almost always do in child's pose. So separate your knees if you want, or maybe keep your knees together, and bring your forehead down to the mat. Maybe wherever your knees are. So if your knees are wide, that begins to get into your hips. If your knees are together, that rounds your low back a little bit more. Wherever you are, maybe experiment with where you want to place your hands. Right, so I in my own practice have been doing a lot of thinking about shifting things, right? Like if you always do something the exact same way, you're never going to give yourself the chance to get the little nuances of maybe a shift to the left or a shift to the right, even if it doesn't stretch your muscles a different way. Maybe it just gives you a deeper sense of relaxation in the pose or something like that. So I got a dog, I got a cat. Anyway, take some breaths here in child's pose. Grounding. So it is a windy day. There's studies that show that people tend to be a lot more agitated on windy days. So if you respond to the wind in that way, allow yourself to settle, allow yourself to ground. Breath is always in the present. Tap into that gift of being present. And then from child's pose, if your hands aren't reached out in front of you, reach your arms out in front of you. Tuck your toes, lift your knees off the ground, downward facing dog. Pedal it out, bend one knee, let the opposite heel sink down. Keep both hands firmly planted on the floor. If you didn't switch sides already, do so, letting the opposite knee bend and the opposite heel sink down. You can do it slowly, you can do it quickly. Find the rhythm that works for you. We're not in a hurry at all today. In downward facing dog, bring your big toes into touch. And stay in down dog. We're not moving into side plank, it's more of a side stretch. So big toes are touching. Let your heels turn toward the right, spin toward the right, bend your knees, and let your hips sink down to the floor, toward the floor, whatever feels good to you. So you have a lot of weight in your right hand right now, hips coming down. And then come on up. Remember to keep on breathing. Other side. So your heels may not go all the way down to the ground. They may. Your hips may not go all the way down to the ground. You decide. You pick what feels good. How far do you need to go? Come on back up. Downward facing dog to get sensation. Sensation is the goal. Bring your feet back to hip width. And lift up your right leg. Let your left heel continue to sink. Bend your knee. Open your hip. So you can make circles if you want. Keep sending your weight back, right? So you're pushing into your hands. You're not rocking forward here. Maybe look under your right armpit. And then bring your right leg back to neutral and bring it down, but hook your big toe and first toe on the back of your left heel. And just use your right foot to give your left calf and Achilles a little bit extra stretch. Keep breathing. And then put your right foot down, lift your left leg up, and bend your left knee. Maybe you look underneath your right armpit, or left armpit rather. You can look under your right armpit. That would square your shoulders a bit more. You can make circles if that feels good. Honestly, you can always do whatever you want in this practice. You be your own teacher. Come on back up. Hook your left big toe and second toe over your right heel, that tendon in the back, and just get a little bit extra stretch. And then put your left foot back, look in between your hands, take a bunch of baby steps, walk to the top of your mat, then walk to ragdoll, hanging ragdoll. Feet can be hip width distance, feet can be together, whatever you like. Maybe you sway back and forth a little bit. Maybe you bend your elbows and interlace or tuck hand and crook of opposite elbow. Wherever you are here, let your head be really heavy. Breathe and let the breath help you soften, help you open. And then bend your knees enough that you can, bend your knees enough that your chest is on your thighs. And take your hands and interlace them behind your head. And let your thumbs be at the base of where your hairline is, if you have hair, or it would be if you don't. And so your chest, your upper body is supported here. And now let the weight of your hands elongate your neck. So you're standing, but you're kind of curled up in a ball at the same time. If it feels good, you can even pull a little bit. You don't want to crank on your neck, but just increase the stretch. Bring your chin more toward your chest. And then release and gently straighten your legs and come on up to standing. And when you get to standing, inhale your arms up. Grab your left wrist with your right hand, pull up and over. Pushing through your right hip as you pull your left hip. Oh my gosh, maybe it's one of those mix-up left and right days. Come on back center. Grab your right wrist with your left hand. Pull your right hand over and push your right hip out. That's what I meant to say. On the other side, it's the opposite. Come on back center. Do it again. Grab your left wrist with your right hand. Pull your left hand over, push your left hip out, and keep your chest center to the side. So you're not looking down. Come on back up. And again, over to the left, pushing out your right hip. And the breath going, noticing the changes in the breath as you change shapes in your body. And then pull your hands into your heart and sweep your arms up. Surya Namaskar, A, Sun, A, half, forward fold, dive down. Hands can come out or through your heart. Halfway lift, lengthen. Tailbone to the crown of your head. Bring your shoulder blades on your back. Tuck in your stomach. Bring the navel to your spine. And then again, elongate out, crown of your head, tailbone, breathing. And then fold, fold. Take that length down. Sweep your arms out and up, rise. Try to get some extra inches in between your vertebra. Bring your hands together. Overhead. Pull your energy into your heart. Sweep your arms up. Fold. Lengthen halfway up. Try to get as much length as you got before and keep growing back. Put your hands down, forward, fold, step back to high plank position. Inhale, in, high plank, and then lower halfway or all the way. Chaturanga or laying on the floor. Keep your elbows in, tight by your sides. Back bend, so upward facing dog or cobra. You could always even do Sphinx if you like that one here. And then lift your hips, roll over your toes. Come to downward facing dog. Breathe in dog. Drop your knees to the ground. Keep your hands where they are. And untuck your toes. Let's come into Anahakasana puppy dog pose. So keep your hands where they are. Send your hips back. Actually, you want to have your knees and your hips lined up. So you might need to walk your hands forward a little bit. I've heard this called half dog, also called puppy dog pose, also called Anahatasana heart opening pose. Head on the ground. Your arms are engaged. You might even be pushing into the ground. You might squeeze your shoulder blades together, feeling your upper body almost like hammocking, getting a stretch here. And then walk your hands in a drop just for some stability if you need it. And thread the needle. Slide your right arm underneath your left armpit, palm up. Come on to the outside of your right shoulder. And bring your right ear to the earth. You might experiment with bringing your forehead to the ground. But that if you're more open today, is probably a more accessible option for you. And breathe. You can shift around and make sure you're getting that good stretch in your shoulder. Maybe you don't need to shift around, right? Again, we're not looking for Yoga Journal to come in and say, oh my God, this person is in the most ultimate expression of this posture. We need to make them our poster child. What you're looking for is sensation. Come on back to center and switch sides. Forehead down to start with. Let's reconnect at center. I did say and switch sides. So if you already did that, go keep going. But if you're with me, then take your left arm, slide it underneath your right armpit, palm up, left ear to the mat. Shift, wiggle, whatever you need to do to find that good stretch in your body. Move your hands around, whatever it is. Right, again, we're looking for sensation. And sometimes it's sort of ironic, but those people that look like they're in this perfect pose, well, I want to say that differently, but I'll get back to that later. We're just looking for sensation. And really, the point is some people need to go further than others. If you're flexible, you're going to need to get sensation. That doesn't mean you're doing the pose more correctly. Come on back to center. Tuck your toes and walk up so that you're in kneeling with your toes tucked in toes pose. Start out with your hands on the floor in front of you. And take a few breaths and ground here. And if you can take this further without panicking, without becoming reactive and losing your yoga, then sit up. And maybe bring your hands to your heart. If you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out, then lean forward again and put your hands on the ground. If you need more sensation, all right, if you're like, this is pretty easy, I don't feel too much, then you can begin to lean back. I don't need more sensation, so I'm not going to do that, but, well, I can show you it without hurting myself. You can lean back, keep your knees on the ground. You can open your heart here. A lot of years ago, I used to do a lot of back bend demonstrations, and I kind of injured myself. I'm not a super back bendy person, so I've learned that if it's not good for my body to do it, that doesn't mean it's not good for your guys' body to do it, but it also doesn't mean I should show you it and risk myself. So self-care throughout this practice. And I don't know what you guys should be doing. You do. You have the opportunity to when you pay attention to your body. All right. Enough of that. Crawl forward, hands and knees. Release your toes. Ooh. And keep your knees on the floor. Separate your heels. You may want to walk up a little bit on your mat. Hero's pose, Virasana. Separate your heels and sit down in between your heels. So you may, if your butt is on the ground, good. And if you can lean back and go all the way down, keep your knees on the ground, do that, good. If your butt is hovering, maybe you have a block or a towel or something and you want to sit on that, good. All good. So actually it's funny that anyway, back when I used to demonstrate yoga a lot, I was teaching 3 times a week at a residential substance abuse rehab place. And I remember really clearly this young woman came in and she was a mess. She was abusing substances. She had a horrible trauma history. Breathe while you're in this posture and I'm talking. But she was as flexible as Gumby. And I would demonstrate a position. I'll show you one later. And she would say, oh, you mean like this? And do what physically would be the sort of most complete version. What was interesting to me, what I really learned is, wow, she would be the person Yoga Journal would take the picture of. But she wasn't doing yoga. She was really literally just putting her body in shapes, doing some calisthenics. Because yoga is also, and maybe even more so, about the breath and about the mindset and about being grounded and centered and present. The positions are just drama we throw in to challenge ourselves. Can I be present and grounded and centered while doing this difficult posture? Come on up, wherever you are, and come back onto your hands and knees. And come into a good hands and knees position, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, and some cat-cows. Dropping your stomach, lifting your gaze on an inhale, maybe even squeezing shoulder blades together, and then pushing up, rounding your shoulders, tucking your tailbone, chin, tucks, navel to spine. And a few more. And then come on back to neutral. Right arm out in front of you. Stick out your left leg back behind you and turn your toes toward the ground. So you're not trying to lift your leg up higher by rotating your hip externally. You want to have especially think about your pinky toe of your left foot facing the ground. And now engage really strongly through your stomach muscles and through your spine, your core. and reach out, and then maybe even lift your arms, lift your leg, re-engage your stomach. So very active in this posture. And then bend your left knee, reach back with your right hand. Grab your foot if you can, ankle if you want, can. Kick. Opening up your right shoulder, maybe lifting your left leg and feeling a stretch through your left quadricep. And then release out and back one more time. Lift your right hand and your left knee down, cat-cow. Check in with your low back. Sometimes that lift, that back bend can be a little bit, get your back a teeny bit tweaky. Come on back to center. Extend your left arm out in front of you. Right leg, right pinky toe facing down. And then see about lifting. So when I say see about lifting, first of all, also engage your core strongly. When I say see about lifting, what I'm sort of meaning is ask your body if that feels appropriate today. And if it does, go for it. And if it doesn't, why would you do it just because I suggested it? Breathe. Bend your right knee, reach back with your left hand, and kick. So if your hand is in a thumb up position, your shoulder is going to be able to open a little bit more, and say that on the other side. So whichever way you're doing it is fine. Breathe. Release. Arm and leg out one more time. Put them down. And walk your hands forward a bit. Tuck your toes. Downward facing dog. Let your heels sink toward the ground. Maybe even pushing your heels down just energetically, using your muscles to push your heels down and getting a little bit of that extra stretch that we facilitated before with our other foot. Look in between your hands and make your way there. We're going to flow a little bit. Again, halfway lift, inhale, forward fold, sweep your arms out and rise up with a flat back. Bring your hands together overhead. Pull that energy into your heart. Reach your arms up again. Forward fold. Halfway lift, lengthen up. Fold and step back. High plank, and then lower halfway or all the way. Back bend of your choice. Okay, so now don't untuck your toes, right? Your toenails are on the ground. But what I want you to do is begin to move into down dog. So lifting your hips without untucking your toes. Come all the way up. Feel the pull, and then come on back. High plank, but don't change your toes. And then from underneath your belly button, pull up again. Pull up almost into down dog, almost. Back forward. And then this time, come on up. Pull from underneath your belly button. And then allow yourself to roll over your toes. Downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up. And this time bring it through. Come to a low lunge and drop your back knee to the ground. Untuck your left toes. Get your right heel and right knee in a line. And bring your left hip kind of down a little bit more toward the floor. So we're going to work the psoas muscle, and which is a deep internal muscle. And we're going to open up the front of your left thigh, hip flexor as well. So come on up if you want. And experiment with sinking more into your left, or into your right knee, lowering that left hip toward the earth. If you want here, only if you want, you can lift your arms. And also, only if you want, toenails are on the ground, you can lift your back knee. And that's going to really intensify that stretch. Keep your left hip moving forward and down a little bit if you're doing that. Right leg is strong and engaged. Right heel is pushing into the ground. If your back knee's up, put it down. Put your hands down and shift back into half splits. So straightening or straighten-ish your right knee. And then try, always length, right? Try to walk your hands toward your right heel. But again, when you start to get to like, oh my God, you're not doing yoga anymore. It's about getting a stretch in between, in the back of your right leg. If your foot is really flexed, you might feel it from your heel all the way up through your Achilles, all the way up the back of your. Come forward again. Put one hand on either side of your, actually, you know what? Come on into runner's lunge right here. Bring your hands to the inside of your right foot. And toe heel your right, don't toe heel your right foot up yet. Let's add a twist. So bend your left knee and reach back with your right hand. Grab your foot. And then roll open. So allow your chest to open up towards your right knee as your right shoulder opens up toward the left. For a lot of us, this is a very intense left thigh stretch. Release. Come back to runner's lunge. Elbows inside your right foot. To whatever degree you feel like today. So again, playing around with the idea of just because I did it X way a different time, does that mean I need to do it that way? And does it even mean I want to do it that way? Notice that with your exhales, you can sink deeper. Releasing, grounding, letting go. And then come on up. What we're going to do here, stay with me, bring your right foot back, bring your right knee meet your left. You're sort of on hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Oh my God, we are going to do it again. Walk back up to toes pose. And notice, does it feel different this time? Your toes are tucked. Maybe you can sit up more. Maybe you can sit back more. Maybe it doesn't feel different. This is a very, very intense pose. Please stay with your breath. Teach yourself on your mat, I can do hard things. That doesn't mean I push myself beyond my capability. We're all doing hard things, you guys. I heard that Colorado's considering going back up to COVID level 3. That's higher restrictions on Friday. We can do hard things. We are doing hard things. But with what quality do we do those hard things? All right, that's enough of that. Come on back to downward facing dog. So crawl forward, untuck your toes for a sec. Maybe even tap out the tops of your feet. And then tuck your toes again, downward facing dog. But don't worry because the quality, right? You're on your balls of your feet really here. Ooh-wee, that's a toughie, huh? Lift your left leg up. And bring it through for a low lunge. Drop your right knee down. Untuck your right toes, bring your right toenails onto the ground. Left heel and knee line up. And then just stay here a sec. Play around with sinking into your left hip. bringing the front of your right hip a little bit closer to the floor. And then maybe, if you would like, so again, the front of left thigh, psoas stretch. Come on up if you want. Bring your hands to the top of your right thigh, or left thigh, sorry. And then maybe playing around with sinking a little bit more. Hands can stay on your thigh here. Notice, are your shoulders up by your ears? Are they punching forward? And if you bring your shoulders back, do you need to tuck your rib cage in a little bit? Do you want to bring your arms up by your ears? Do you want to? With a lot of energy in your left leg there, your front leg, lift up your back knee. And if you tried it on the other side, but it doesn't feel right on this side, don't do it, or vice versa. Maybe you didn't do it on the other side, but now you're like, hey, I think I could do that, cool. Whatever you're doing, breathe. Drop your right knee and shift your hips back, half splits. Walk your hands towards your left heel, length. So you want to always think about, right, getting the crown of your head beyond your toes, lengthening your breath. So we can do hard things. You know you're doing hard things already. But with what quality? And I don't mean, I'm not talking about if you have COVID fatigue, you're bad. I have COVID fatigue, you guys, my gosh. Who doesn't, really? But can you have COVID fatigue with grace? Can you have COVID fatigue? Bend your knee. Keep your left foot where it is. Bring your heel over your knee. Right hand comes underneath your right shoulder. Bend your right knee. Grab your right foot with your left hand. And then sink into, come on to the top, like over your kneecap. Sink into your left knee and roll your chest open to the left. Left shoulder, the kick, helping the left shoulder really open up. Maybe feeling this in your right quadricep. Even above that. So you breathe, you do these hard things, but you breathe and you send a message to your body, I'm not panicking. Doing something hard, but I'm not panicking. Release runner's lunge, hands to the inside of your left foot, toe heel of your left foot, and we'll spend a few breaths here. So do I do hard things with my teeth clenched? And holding my breath, or do I do hard things gently, bringing my best self to the experience? And sometimes we engage our breath to ground us in the moment, to help do that. Right now, you might use your exhales to help you soften and deepen into this posture. Inhales activate our sympathetic. Exhales activate our parasympathetic nervous system. Come on up. Bring your right knee back to meet your left. We're not going to do toes close again, though. Come on into downward facing dog. Breathe in, down dog. And make your way to the top of your space. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Bend your knees, Utkatasana chair. Sink down in the chair. Tuck your ribs and bring your hands to your heart. From your left elbow to your right knee, twist. Trying to center your knees. So you might feel your right knee push into your left elbow a little bit. And push back, elbow, push back in. Top hand, push into bottom hand. Maybe you turn your neck up. Release. Gorilla pose. Separate your feet hip width. Slide your hands. Bend your knees again the way we did at the beginning. Put your chest, your stomach on your thighs. And then palms up. Hands under your feet. Toes on your wrist creases. So you bend your knees a ton to do this. Don't let your head be heavy. Maybe you work on straightening your legs. Maybe you work on rocking your weight forward a little bit. Maybe you work on bending your elbows and pulling down. Probably not all of those things at the same time. Always working on breathing. So even when the flow, the posture gets still, the flow continues with your steady breath. Release your hands. Bring your big toes back into touch. Bring your knees, chair pose. And then come into the twist on the other side. Left knee pushes into right elbow pushes back. Top hand pushes into bottom hand. Keep sinking down. Definitely keep breathing. And release. Separate your feet out. Not too wide, about a little wider than hip width distance. Put your palms flat on the floor. Bend your knees. Crow pose. Crow pose. Let's go on into it. Bring your knees to the backs of your arms. Lift your gaze. Lift your gaze up. And then shift your hips forward. Weight comes onto the back of your arms. With one foot and then the other. So lifting your head, what it does is it acts as a counterbalance. When your head is down, it kind of pulls the weight of your upper body down. From crow, shoot your legs back, chaturanga, and then lay down on the ground. Keep your hands in cobra. Untuck your toes. Roll your shoulders up and back and down. Elbows in tight. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and lift up into cobra. So all of your body is on the floor except what you can lift using the strength of your back muscles. Come on down. Cobra. Come on back down. Cobra lift. Come on back down. Turn your head to one side. Let your arms come long on the floor by your body, palms facing up. Breath in and out. Clench and unclench your fists. Enjoying that your hands work. Enjoying that you can feel with your fingers. Head back to center. Bend your knees. Come on into bow pose. Grab your feet from the outside and then begin to kick into your hands and let whatever you can get up lift. A back bend, a heart opener, can do hard things. And I can do them with grace. Release and turn your head to the other side. Feet down, arms alongside your body, palms facing up. Feeling your chest, your stomach, the energy, your life force, your prana. Connecting with the earth. The earth sending you energy, holding you up as gravity pulls you down. And then come on back to center. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Tuck your toes. Firm up your legs. Bring them about hip width distance. Push up. Come. Now we're facing down. Enjoy down dog. Think about rolling your inner thighs up. Rolling your inner thighs up. Broadening your sits bones. Pushing your hands into the floor to help that engagement in your legs. And then look to the top of your space and make your way there. Halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Utkatasana, chair. Stand up and bring your hands to your heart. Inhale your arms up. Chair. Fold. Halfway up. Take it back, high plank. Lower chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward, spin your back foot flat, rise to warrior one. Your back foot is flat at a roughly 45-degree angle. Your biceps are by your ears. You're trying to get your chest, your ribs, your hips facing forward. You're trying. And then open up, warrior two. So now you're trying to get your chest and your ribs kind of facing sideways as your gaze continues to face forward. Sink into your front knee. Flip your right palm and reverse your warrior. Let your left hand come down your left leg or maybe behind your back. Keep your right knee bending forward as you reach your right hand back. And come on back, warrior two. Straighten your front leg. Reach forward, triangle. Maybe using the leverage from your bottom hand to help roll your right rib cage under. Reach your, put your bicep by your ear on the left. Reach your palm down, reach your hand forward. If you want, you can reach your right arm forward too. So a lot of engagement here in your core. And you come on up, back to warrior two. Straighten both legs. Turn your feet parallel or pigeon-toed. Clasp your hands behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Open your chest, open your heart. Bow forward, wide-legged forward bend. And then let your hands come off your back toward the floor in front of you. Remember how the inhale breaths can help you kind of get some strength in you, and then lengthening, softening on those exhales. Warrior two, front of your mat, windmill down, high plank to chaturanga. upward facing dog. Lift under your navel. Downward facing dog, and step your left foot forward, spin your right foot flat, rise up to warrior one. And land in warrior one. Be here now. You're either now here or you're nowhere. Open up, warrior two. Left knee continues to track toward the left as it bends deeply. And then flip your left palm reverse. So your knee is bending forward, but your hand is moving back. You're lengthening as best as you can. Maybe your right hand is moving down your right leg. Forward, straighten your left knee. Triangle. So start with your arm up. Opening. Just opening, right? Opening whatever you can open here. Maybe you're opening your mind. Bring the right bicep by your right ear. Reach your palm toward the floor. Maybe left hand reaches out as well. Don't panic. If it causes panic, don't do it. Challenge is different than panic. Rise back up, warrior two. And this time, turn both feet out. Come to center. Turn both feet out and bend your knees. So we'll start with horse pose, or also known as goddess pose. Bring your elbows sides and your palms out in front of you. And again, don't panic. Do your best. And stand up and straighten your leg if you need to take a break, and then you come back. You don't have to be 100% all the time. In fact, that's what leads to burnout. Bring your hands to the inner thighs, thumbs facing down, and push into your right thigh. Drop your right shoulder, and look over your left shoulder so it twists here. Try to come up and out of your low back. Switch sides. Let your breath dictate or guide, not dictate, but how deep you go. Maybe your breath, switch sides. Maybe your breath suggests how deep you go. Switch sides, left shoulder down. Come back to center. Warrior two to the front. And then roll down. Make your way to downward facing dog. And then make your way to the top of your space. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold, and rise up. All the way to standing. Bring your hands together over your head and pull your energy into your heart. And do a little bit of balancing. So I told you earlier about this young woman who came in and she could do the most advanced version of any posture. So if you have a strap, we're going to do dancer. We're not going to hold it very long. Kind of flew today. Balance on your left foot. If you have a strap, you can go ahead and use it by hooking it over your the ball of your right foot. And if you're moving into dancer with the strap, what you want to do is bring your elbows by your ears and hold the strap behind your head. And if you could do the full version of this posture, or the most, I don't know what you want to call it, hardest physical version, your hands would be grabbing your feet. Or your foot, I should release, and switch sides. So again, somebody walks into rehab with a terrible history of all kinds of stuff, including a drug addiction that got her into rehab. But she can reach up and grab her foot. She said, oh, like this? Oh, yeah, just like that. Not something that'll ever be in my physical repertoire. But do I judge myself on that? Well, yeah, kind of, but is that a fair judgment? Is that a correct judgment? Are we judging based on appearances? Yeah, we do that a lot, huh? And where does it get us? Release, dancer. And, let's just come on. Let's see. Yeah, definitely. Come into a downward facing dog. Just make your way there. So you can go through the vinyasa, or you can just come on into down dog. And then come into pigeon, right foot forward, right knee behind your right wrist. Walk your left knee back a little bit. So first come on into regular old familiar pigeon. I'm going to show you guys a little bit different version that I just went in a minute. But first enjoy and maybe play around with again. Do I want to do it the same way I'm doing it, or do I want to try a different way? I'll offer you a different one now. So come up onto your elbows at least, and maybe you don't need to. Tuck your left toes and push. You don't need to lift up your head. Tuck your left toes, lift your left knee, and bring your left hip down. Push into your right shin. Push it into the floor. And you're probably going to feel this a lot more intensely on the outside of your right hip, maybe even into your right hamstring, maybe even into your right abdomen. And then release down. Come up. Downward dog. Pigeon left side, regular way first. Left knee, left wrist. Maybe you walk your right knee back a little bit, creating some more space. And then sink down. Or do you do things, you make hard things harder? Maybe that's a good way to look at it, right? You can do hard things, but do you make them even harder? Like fighting against them. That's even something we do in yoga class, or in certain poses too, or like if you go out for a bike ride or whatever. But we say, oh,